one, yeah, it was. Remember that one day where I was supposed to be on, and you guys were like, where am I?" My computer blew up that day.
Oh,
Okay.
You out?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
What do you mean
Okay,
you out?
here we go, guys. Who's ready to hear the wild robot?
Me.
Okay, so yesterday, what happened at the end? Who can tell us? Just go ahead and come on in. I'm going to remind you.
The Ricos.
And what
Rico
happened?
4, 5, and 6.
That's right. And what happened with the Ricos 4, 5, and 6? Where?
Roz was
Go ahead,
following.
Sophie.
Bright Bill had to tell Roz to run away.
Right, because what did they do? Did they confront Roz?
Yeah.
They were trying to get her.
Yeah, they told her, "Come with me," right?
Come with me. Come with me.
Zara. Okay. So now I'm going to mute everybody. I'm going to just read you the last. Okay. Oh, but what was the big thing about that, Sophie? Why did Roz get to escape? Do you remember? Who remembers?
Because Jay and Jack took their Roz's transmitter out, and the Ricos couldn't get her electronical signal.
They couldn't track her. Who remembers that? That's the big thing, right? Thanks, Riley. You're always a good rememberer. So, the Ricos weren't concerned. They had other ways of tracking her, or so they thought. Their blocky heads swiveled from side to side, scanning the woods for Roz's electronic signal. But as Riley just said, they scanned and scanned and scanned, but they found no trace of their target. Chapter 76, The Morning. A steady stream of foot traffic was flowing past the park that morning. Several pairs of eyes noticed a Rosin robot running out from the trees. They watched us around and then started marching along the sidewalk with the rest of the crowd. Roz had lost the Ricos back in the woods, but she knew they wouldn't stop searching for her. She needed to blend in with the normal robots on the street. So when she came upon a work crew taking her to a construction site, she tried to join the end of the line. But listen to this. Are you listening, Finn? This is so important. Here comes the most.
Stop! I'm trying to listen.
Yeah, who's saying that? Riley, Chloe, listen. But okay. So she came. And she joined the end of the line. But the crew immediately halted, and then they turned around and faced her. Our robot stepped backward away from the crew and bumped into a young woman. "I am sorry," said Roz, gently grasping the woman's shoulder. Was that a mistake? Why, William? Why was that a mistake? You don't know? I bet you do. Who can say why that's a mistake? She said, "I'm sorry."
Because she wasn't supposed to step back from the line. She's going to get noticed.
But what's another thing? She said, "I'm sorry." And then she grasped the woman's shoulder. Was that the way a robot should be acting? No, she expressed emotion, right? I'm sorry is an emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, "I am sorry," said Roz, gently grasping the woman's shoulder. "Get your hands off me. Whose robot is this? There's something wrong with her." Everybody stopped and they stared. And humans pointed. Automobiles slowed. There were whispers about a defective robot on the loose. And then the white triangular airship appeared. It floated out from between tall buildings. Roz lurched forward and backward again and again, trying to think of a plan, until a voice suddenly squawked behind her. Follow us, Mama. Bright Bill and Strutter swooped past, and the robot went racing after them. She wove through the crowd, sprinted down streets, leaped across intersections, leaped across intersections. Let's see. Horns blared and humans screamed and robots shuffled out of the way. The birds made one last turn and fluttered into a narrow side street. A group of tomcats were there, lurking in the shadows. They crouched and licked their lips and dreamed of feasting on a goose and on a pigeon. Then the robot came stomping up, and the cats hissed and scattered in every direction. Strutter pointed to a heavy circular panel set in the pavement that said, "Lift that up." Roz lifted the panel. Beneath it was a ladder that descended into a deep, dark hole. "Climb down there," said Strutter. "A friend of mine is expecting you." The robot looked from the pigeon to the goose. "Do what he says, Ma," cried Bright Bill. "There's no time to waste." "But how will I find you again?" "Just go." And there's where Roz is going to climb. I think she's climbing into the sewer. Who else thinks that?
Me.
Yep, William thinks it. Chapter 77, The Underground. Our robot was standing in a long, shadowy tunnel. Murky icky water trickled along the floor, and sour smells filled the air. Roz was below ground in the city sewer. That's where all that, who knows what goes into a sewer? Who can say? What, William?
Rats.
Garbage. Toilet water. that
Toilet
people
water
use.
And rats.
and rats,
And garbage.
garbage. Yep. Icky things go into the sewer.
Miss Childs, I think I know what's going to happen, but I'm not going to say, but I think I know.
Okay, don't say though.
Yeah.
Is it coming back to you, Riley? Okay. There was a squeak, and the robot's headlights flashed onto a crack in the wall. A rat's
I know.
pointy face poked out. "You must be Roz," said the rat, wriggling his nose. "I hear you're in trouble." "That's correct," said the robot. "I need to get as far from here as possible." "I know where to take you," said the rat, and he started scampering down the tunnel. The rat knew the sewers better than anyone, but his short legs couldn't carry him very fast. So Roz carried him. She scooped him up and plopped him on her shoulder, and she said, "Tell me where to run." Roz is smart. Ooh. With the rat squeaking directions in her ear, Roz stomped deeper into the underground. She splashed down side tunnels, crawled through narrow passageways, carefully crossed subway tracks. Occasionally, they came to I cannot say this word, cavernous. That means a big, huge chamber. A cavernous chamber. Most of the chambers were empty, but some contained jumbles of pipes. The rat would scurry across the damp, dirty floor while the robot climbed the pipes as if they were trees. Mechanical sounds echoed out from some of the tunnels. Robot crews were hard at work. They spent their lives laboring below the city. Many would never even see the light of day. Roz was curious, of course, but she dared not spy on them. Those workers had no idea that a fellow robot was sneaking through their underground home. After traveling through miles of tunnels, the rat and the robot came to a dead end. A ladder was bolted to the wall and disappeared into a hole in the ceiling. I don't know what you'll find up there," squeaked the rat, "but good luck." So now Roz has to go up and out, right?
Mrs. Childs, I think that that's where she came before.
Maybe, but she's really trying to get away. So, and the rat knows where he's going. So let's find out. It cannot be any worse than where I was, said Roz, placing him on the ground. Thank you so much for your help. Robot gave the robot gave the rat a quick scratch behind the ears, and then she climbed up to the street. The rat really saved her, didn't he? Ooh, should I read this one? This is called The Chase. Should I read it?
I think I was right.
Chapter 78, The Chase. The street was empty. No people walking, no robots working, no automobiles driving. So it does sound different. Roz looked to the sky, hoping to see Bright Bill or Strutter. But what she saw, was a fleet of white triangular airships. They were floating over the city, searching for the runaway robot, and they had just spotted her. Rosem, Unit 7134, do not move. 3 robots zipped down from the ships on cables. They were Rico's 10, 11, and 12. Each had a rifle at his side, but they didn't fire their weapons, not yet. Their orders were to retrieve the target unharmed if possible. Our robot's survival instincts blared like sirens in her head, and she burst away from the Ricos. She sprinted down the empty street and turned onto another empty street. All the streets seemed to be empty, but they wouldn't be empty for long. More and more big, bulky robots came zipping down.
The street.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just let Fiona in. More and more down to join the chase. The Ricos moved like machines. Their target moved like an animal. The wild robots stayed low, gliding across the streets, darting around buildings, vanishing into the shadows. Her computer brain thought back to those games of hide and seek that she had played on the farm. But this was no game. But was she good at it? Remember when she played it with Jay and Jad?
Yeah.
She was the best. Roz never should have gone into that alley. She was halfway through it when Ricos appeared at both ends. There was only one direction to go. Using all the strength in her legs, our robot launched herself high into the air, and she clamped onto the side of a building. Frightened faces peered out from the window, but Roz didn't want to frighten anyone. She just wanted to go home. The robot launched herself up and across the alley and clamped onto the opposite building. Back and forth she went, leaping between the buildings, climbing higher and higher until she landed on a flat, lofty roof. The sky was filled with white airships. All at once, the ships turned towards Roz. Their engines buzzed as here's a picture of her trying to escape. And she's leaping from one building to the other. Do you see that? Wow. Ooh. But then they closed in on our robot. But then came a strange swishing noise. Pigeons, hundreds of them, thousands of them, wave upon waves of pigeons streamed up from the streets and swarmed around the airships. Strutter had rallied her friends from every corner of the city. They had always hated airships, buzzing loudly, crowding the skies, forcing the birds to fly low. And now a city's worth of pigeons was finally unleashing their anger. As you'd expect, the airships fought back. Blazing beams of light flickered across the skyline and left charred feathers floating on the breeze. But the pigeons did not retreat. They tightened around the ships, distracting them, confusing them. There was a deafening screech. Little bodies fell, and a ship spiraled out of sight, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. Roz watched in horror as more pigeons and ships went down. She hollered for the birds to fly away, but they were lost in a fighting frenzy. Heavy feet thumped on the roof. Rosum, Unit 7134, do not move. Roz didn't look. She just ran from the voice, leaped to the next rooftop, and kept on running. Our robot leaped up to a higher rooftop and then to a lower one. Up and down she went, leaping from building to building, footsteps thundering behind her. But still the Ricos did not fire their rifles. Mama, I'm here, Bright Bill swooped alongside his mother as she ran. What should we do? Bright Bill, you must fly to safety, hollered Roz. It is too dangerous up here. And then in a softer voice, the robot said, I cannot escape. No, Mama, you come so far. Don't give up now. But Roz finished running. She slowed and stopped at the edge of the rooftop. The goose fluttered into her arms, and our friends held each other close. You have been such a good son, said Roz. You have saved my life so many times, but now you must save yourself and go on without me. Will I see you again? Said Bright Bill, wiping his eyes. I don't think so, said Roz. They still had so much to say to each other. There simply wasn't any more time. So they said the only words that matter. Oh, this is so sad. It's going to make me probably cry. I love you, Mama. I love you, son. Airships circled above. Ricos dropped onto the rooftops. Rifles pointed at the robot. A voice boomed, Rosum, Unit 7134, do not move. But Roz did move. She heaved her son toward the sky so that he could fly to safety. And in that instance, a trigger was pulled. A blazing beam of light flashed into our robot's leg. Damaged sensors flared as the leg turned bright orange and melted away. Poor Roz tried to keep her balance, but she just kept toppling backward off the roof. She seemed to hang in the air, sparkling in the sunlight, and then she fell down, down, down to the street below. As Roz was falling, she took one last look at Bright Bill, soaring in the sky. She watched him get smaller and smaller, and then everything went dark. Here's a picture of that. Here's what Roz sees. What do you guys think? Is that heavy? Who wants to say how they're feeling right now?
I'm feeling nervous.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to say how they're feeling right now?
That was scary.
That was scary. Yeah.
That was sad.
Should I go on one more so you don't leave so sad?
No.
Yes.
Do one more.
I don't like cliffhangers.
I know you don't. So this is called The Designer, and it looks like a lady that looks a little bit like me. Not much.
I think she's gonna help the robot.
It kind of looks like
I hope it sounds like Roz might. I'm sure she survived, but boy, it doesn't sound like it, does it?
he kind of looks like a robot.
Yeah.
I remember this part.
Sophie, you remember?
I
Okay.
think that she
Chapter
really
79, The Designer.
Now I'm thinking of all the sad parts
Child.
of the wild robot.
Mrs.
Okay.
Child.
Before you
Okay. Roz awoke slowly. She woke up. She was surprised to be waking up at all. The fall from the building should have destroyed her, and yet here she was. But where was she? Everything was dark and silent. Was this where robots go when they die? No, as her systems activated, the real world came into focus. She saw white walls and floors, and she heard the hum of machinery in the background. Roz was somewhere inside the robot factory where she had been made. A pile of robot parts lay on the floor. The parts were smashed and mangled. It took a moment for Roz to realize that she was looking down at her own broken body. It took another moment for her to realize that she was now nothing more than a robotic head. Her head was sitting atop an electronic box that powered her computer brain. Roz still had her thoughts and her voice, but without a body, she couldn't move. So she just sat there completely helpless and waited for the makers to appear. The makers did not appear. Instead, Roz heard soft footsteps and an old woman appeared. She was elegant with white hair and red lipstick and black clothes.
It's kind of like you. It is.
A little bit.
A little.
Flowery perfume wafted behind her. Every detail about the woman was neat and precise, except for her fingers, which were smudged with dark grease.
You.
Welcome back, Roz, said the woman, wiping her hands on a rag. I wasn't sure I'd get your computer brain working again. You took quite a spill out there. How do you feel? Roz just stared. You don't have to pretend anymore, said the woman. I know you're not a normal robot. Everyone knows. You made that perfectly clear when you led the Ricos on that wild chase through the city. Roz remained silent. I watched the video of the chase. I don't know how you got those pigeons to attack the airship, but I'm interested in the goose. But I'm more interested in the goose. Let's see. The goose, but I'm more interested in the goose. You seem to be speaking to it with it. Can you explain this to me? The goose is my son, Roz said at last. Is that so? The woman arched an eyebrow. Roz, I repaired your computer brain so I could talk with you. I want to know how you came to be this way. So let's talk. I'll begin by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Malovo. A long time ago, I fell in love with computers and robots, and I created a company called Tech Lab Industries. Since then, millions of robots have been produced right here in this factory, and I designed every last one of them. Dr. Malovo leaned forward. Roz, I designed you. So who is the maker?
Her.
Dr. Malovo. And we'll stop there for today.
Yeah.
And then next week we're going to end the book. We're almost done.
Hey, want to do my word witness story?
Now let's go ahead and stop.